NFC North, in my opinion, is the hardest division in football this year, maybe even harder than the AFC North. I think this division is loaded. So,
I think
without
it got a little easier with the J.J. McCarthy injury news. Just a little, but
I tend to agree with you on that. So here we go. Number 4, last place, and a very competitive last place, 7-10. I have the Minnesota Vikings, who I would have probably bumped up to 8 or 9 wins if JJ McCarthy would have played some of the games this season. Again, we talked about their weapons to me are the best in the division. Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, who, yes, he's going to miss a little bit of time to start the year, but he's a very good, solid tight end. And I love, love, love the addition of Aaron Jones out of the backfield for them, replacing Alexander Madison.
that's a huge I think I'll jump more into this when I go, but I think that could be a huge loss for the Green Bay Packers.
I totally agree with you, just because they also put A.J. Dillon on IR. So Green Bay's very thin at the running back position. When it comes to Minnesota, though, their defense is leaving a lot to be desired. They're going to have to outscore people. I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be great. Again, is there a world out there? I said this on our last episode of Championship Rings a couple weeks ago. Is there a world out there where Sam Darnold becomes this year's Baker Mayfield? Yes. It's a very similar situation. High draft pick, bounce around the league, finds the right spot, gets a lot of weapons, wins a lot of games. I just think this division's way tougher than what the NFC South was a year ago.
Okay.
Number 3, and I know this is where we're going to disagree because you already know where I'm going.
Yep.
At 9-8.
You're already wrong, I can tell you now.
And just barely missing the playoffs.
No.
I have the Green Bay Packers. They have the 3rd best quarterback in their own division. They have the worst running game in their own division. Weapons in totality between receivers, backs, and tight ends, they are the worst in their division. And by the way, I don't think it's close. And their defense is okay at best, in my opinion. So, I like the Green Bay Packers. I think they're going to win games. But what I want to tell you is Jordan Love last year had basically an 8-game sample size where he was a top 5, top 3 quarterback in the league. Will he be able to duplicate that for a full season? I'm not sure. I need to see it a lot like I need to see it with Brock Purdy. And so I think the Green Bay Packers at 9-8, I was very close to putting them at 10-7, but I think Minnesota gets them a game. They go to 9-8. At the number 2 spot, being the number 5 seed in the NFC playoffs at 10-7, Caleb Williams, Roma Dudze, DJ Moore, and the Chicago Bears of the Midway. Maybe it's just Hard Knocks that has hyped me up about this team, but I have never seen a team upgrade on one side of the ball the way Chicago has upgraded on the offensive side of the ball this offseason. Going from Justin Fields to Caleb Williams. Going from, Keenan Allen as a number 2 receiver. Roma Dunze as a number 3 receiver. They still have a top 10 defense ever since Montez Sweat came over. We've seen Jalen Johnson, the young corner, ticked off about not being on the top 100 list this year. He's going to be motivated to have a very good year. Shane Waldron, the former Seahawks offensive coordinator, going to be a lot better than Luke Getsy was. The only thing that worries me about this team is their head coach, Matt Eberflus. I've liked what I've seen in Hard Knocks and the little snippets. I'm not the biggest Eberflus guy, but I don't really know if it matters because I think Caleb Williams embraces the change. He knows he is the savior of the franchise. I don't think this team is getting too much hype. And yes, I think the Chicago Bears are absolutely for real, and they're going to make the playoffs in the NFC. Which leads me to the number 1 overall seed in the NFC at 12-5. Jared Goff, who you at this time last year said he might get replaced by Malik Hooker.
Hendon
The
Hooker.
Hendon Hooker, excuse me. The Detroit Lions, who have pretty much brought everybody back, including both coordinators. Listen, this team, they were this close. They were arguably a Brandon Ayuk bounce off the face mask away from going to the Super Bowl last year. They redid their entire secondary in the draft. The Detroit Lions. A lot of people think they're going to fall flat on their face and not have two good seasons in a row. I believe in Motor City Dan Campbell, and the Lions will win not only this division, but they will have the first round bye.
Okay. The only thing we disagree about are the Packers and the Bears. That's it. Otherwise, you and I agree. I have the Minnesota Vikings in fourth. I love their skill position group with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Although didn't Addison get in trouble with the law recently? If I'm
He
not
did, but he's going to be okay. I don't think he's going to be suspended or anything.
okay. Like you said, TJ Hawkinson's going to miss a few games. They picked up Aaron Jones. Again, huge loss for the Green Bay Packers. I don't know why the Packers cut him in the first place. But again, you have Kevin O'Connell. We've seen what he can do as head coach. The Vikings won the NFC North when I don't know anybody who picked them to win the NFC North a couple of years ago. I certainly didn't. But with the loss of J.J. McCarthy, who I feel like they were going to kind of build their offense around, and going to Sam Darnold, it just feels like a downgrade that they can't quite overcome. But I'll give them still 6 wins. So I think that's one less than you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay. In third place, yes, they got Caleb Williams. I love their skill position group. It's nothing to do with the Chicago Bears because I think they're going to be a very good team. I just think Green Bay is just a tad better, just a tad. So I've got Chicago just missing the playoffs at 10-7. Just missing.
So wait, at 10 wins in the NFC, you have them missing?
Just by a smidge.
That's where we disagree, because spoiler alert, my 7th playoff team is from the NFC East, and they have 9 wins.
Okay. Wait. No, I have Chicago making the playoffs. I'm sorry. I do have them making the playoffs as the 6th seed. Yes.
Okay.
Or no, 7th seed. 7th seed.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
7th seed. All right. So, yes, Chicago makes it at 7 as the 7th seed. And then coming in as the number 6 seed, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. I'm a little bit higher on the Packers than you are. I love what I saw out of Jordan Love, but the loss of Aaron Jones, losing A.J. Dillon, I just don't know if they can count on Josh Jacobs the entire season. I like what they have at wide receiver with Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson. So I like that, but and Luke Musgrave at tight end. But the running back position being a little bit murky, I think hurts them. So I've got them all at 11-6. So just a game better than the Bears. And then, like you, the number 1 seed in the NFC at 13-4, those Motor City Kitties, the Detroit Lions. I was wrong about Jared Goff. I'm not afraid to admit, Jared Goff completely proved me wrong last season. But, think about it. You got Aiden Hutchinson, who could win Defensive Player of the Year this year. Spoiler alert there. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of my favorite wide receivers in the league. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. And I think Dan Campbell's going to bring that same energy to the Detroit Lions. He's not going to let them be satisfied with what they did last season. He's going to make sure they have a chip on their shoulder again. So I think the Lions win this division and they get the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Before we go to the NFC East, I do want to clarify something about your NFC predictions because maybe I didn't hear you right. But did you have Atlanta and Tampa both making the playoffs as well?
No, I have Atlanta winning the division, Tampa missing. So I have
Okay.
my wild cards as LA, Green Bay, and Chicago.
Okay. I thought you said Atlanta second and then Tampa wins the division.
I believe I did.
Okay. So, with that, let's get to my division, the NFC East. Here we go. I think this is universal. Last place. Maybe, probably to me, right next to the Saints, but I think they're going to have a worse record. The New York garbage football New York Giants. What are they? They lost Saquon Barkley. They have a good defensive line. I'll give them that. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns now. Besides that, they're nothing. I think they win 2 games. They're competing with the Patriots for the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. We can move on from the Giants.
I can tell you now, we agree there. I actually have the Giants definitively as not just the worst team in the NFC, but the worst team in the NFL.
Okay. Number 3. I have been teasing this for weeks on this show. The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, please explain this one.
The Dallas Cowboys, I have just said, outside of CeeDee Lamb, are a pop gun offense. Let's take a look at Dallas's first 8 games, 8 weeks. It would be about 7 games on the docket. They have to play the Cleveland Browns week 1. They have to go to Baltimore in week 3. They have to go to Pittsburgh in week 5. Then they have to play the Lions in Dallas, as well as San Francisco in San Francisco after a bye. They have the Saints and Giants in between there. Those should be wins. If they start the season 2-5, I think there's a chance Mike McCarthy does not make it to that bye week. And again, I think this is all sabotage by Jerry Jones when it comes to Dak Prescott. I think the loss of Dan Quinn is Washington's gain. I don't think Mike Zimmer is going to be as good as a defensive coordinator. And there's a lot of noise in that Dallas Cowboy organization. I think they go 9-8, but because of a division tiebreaker, they will not be second and they will not make the playoffs.
Wow. So I can tell you now, well, I kind of just spoiled it, but yes, I agree. The Dallas Cowboys will miss the playoffs this season.
So that means my final wild card spot in the NFC, this could be the shocker of the whole league. J.D. Daniels and the Washington Commanders.
I like it.
Do sneak into the playoffs at 9-8. They are the team that, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I am most scared of. And Josh, let me throw something at you. To me, they have similar, not as talented, but similar ingredients to what the Houston Texans had a year ago. A rookie quarterback with a defensive-minded head coach. Good weapons, but we don't love their weapons, but they have good weapons.
Who do they have, though, outside of Terry McLaurin?
Well, you know what? I liked Terry, and before they actually traded away the receiver to Philly the other day, I liked him.
Jahan Dotson. Yeah.
John Dotson. They have other guys in there that they have Zacchaeus, who was in Philadelphia last year. So like Houston, a bunch of guys in sort of that rotation. And then their defense is going to be a mess, but I think Dan Quinn's going to get it better to what Ron Rivera had it a year ago, and you still have Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen on that defensive line.
Okay.
That leads to the number 2 seed in the NFC, once again at 12-5. Again, the way all the tiebreakers wake out is Detroit number 1, Philly number 2, San Francisco number 3 in the NFC. I think my Philadelphia Eagles are in for a bounce back year. Brian Johnson is gone. Coach Pinto is gone. Vic Fangio is in. Kellen Moore is in. And Jalen Hurts, maybe the most impressive stat of the offseason, only threw one interception, and that was on his last pass of the entire training camp. The offense, from all reports, looked different. A lot of motion. And even though they did lose Jason Kelsey and they did lose Fletcher Cox, I think Jordan Davis is going to step up. I like Milton Williams. I like Jalen Carter up front. I think Cam Urges is going to be very good at center. Reminds me a lot of Jason Kelsey. And this team rebuilt their secondary in the draft. Quinyon Mitchell, as well as the defensive back out of Iowa, who, again, you're going to have Darius Slay in there. You're going to have Ringo in there. Reed Blankenship is still in there. They bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Detroit Lions. I just think Philly's in for a bounce-back year. I think they put the collapse behind them. They, to me, easily pull away here in the NFC East, though I think Washington will give them a little bit of a fight maybe towards the end of the season.
So, again, I agree. The Giants will be you and I agree about the Giants. I have them as flat out the worst team in the NFL. Winning no more than 3 games at most. I'll give them 3, but that's it. At number 3, just because I don't know who else they really have outside of Terry McLaurin now that they traded Jahan Dodson. I love Jaden Daniels. Dan Quinn, I think he's going to come in and really help that defense. But because of the uncertainty of the skill position group, that's why I have the Washington Commanders finishing 3rd. And then in 2nd, but missing the playoffs, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. This is it for Dak Prescott. It's all or nothing this year. You haven't gotten your extension yet. You got to go prove it. Mike McCarthy, you and I are on the same page. If they get off to a slow start, I don't know if he's making it to that bye week. So, and then in first place, as the number 3 seed in the NFC, at 12-5, so just behind San Francisco, I've got the Philadelphia Eagles. I like that they brought, again, much like you said, I like that they brought in Vic Fangio. They got rid of Matt Patricia. I have no idea why they gave him defensive coordinator duties in the first place. That was a mistake right from the beginning. We'll see how Kellen Moore does, because I do think it's interesting that he got removed from Dallas, then he left the Chargers. So it's interesting that he's in his 3rd stop. So I do have a little bit of a question mark about that. But again, you got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. You got Dallas Goedert there. You got Saquon Barkley. And again, I don't know how teams keep allowing Philadelphia to just go, oh, you're the best defensive player. We'll take you. I don't get it. Because if I remember correctly, didn't you go and get Cooper DeJean in the draft?
We did. That was the kid out of Iowa. I was blanking his name. That's my bad.
Yeah. You got the guy out of Toledo.
Quinyon Mitchell, yep.
Yep, Quinyon Mitchell. You keep making trades with the Tennessee Titans, and for some reason they keep agreeing to it. Because Kevin Byard is still there, right?
No, he's in Chicago.
Oh, okay, never mind.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson came back from Detroit to fill that void.
Okay, that's for some reason I thought Kevin Byard was still there. But yes, you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson back from Detroit. You got Nolan Smith there. I do think the loss of Jason Kelsey could hurt you in the locker room, especially because he was really that veteran guy. So I do wonder about your your locker room being a little bit younger now, but still, I think the Eagles are in for a bounce back season.